with my conversation with Nova. So I will put up my spreadsheet here in a moment. But as I went through all the 15 card spreads, what was very interesting to me was how, first of all, the financial market ended up being a -2, -2, which what I do is that I look at the what is happening right here and now. So that was the middle five cards. And what does the forecast look like, especially in the next year, the next 3 years, and the distant future? So what was interesting to me was when I did that four-card spread, the Page of Swords came up for um, the one industry. And that was also what came up as the centerpiece for the finance industry. So what the Page of Swords represent, and I'll refer to Goodwin here on that one. What the Page of Swords represents there is a young person with a closet full of skeletons. So that was interesting to me that that's what came up for the military or the defense sector, but also here for the finance, what's going on right here and now in the finance. So it's like, oh, okay. So how I interpret that is that things are coming to light, especially around finances. I think a lot about the Epstein files as well too, and honestly, how banking is run. So, so that didn't surprise me. So, looking ahead into the future, um, in 1 year's time, the King of Cups comes up. That was also a prominent card in the AI industry reading, where I feel like there's going to be some more emotional intelligence that comes out of these conversations. Maybe even this offering might make a difference, especially when looking at finances and balancing the logical with the intuitive. But then 3 years from now, the Knight of Swords comes up. And the Knight of Swords comes up a couple of times here in these readings. But yeah, so this is 3 years ahead in the banking industry, where the Knight of Swords represents right intentions, but the wrong individuals. So so there might be some people coming into the financial industry, who have good intentions, but there might be some things that they are missing. So those are some of the things that I look at as far as also what's going to happen to a stock, in the longer term. And then the banking industry is Seven of Pentacles, which Marcus Goodwin considers a neutral stock or a neutral card. But I kind of associate it with, you know what, let the finances do what they're going to do, let them grow naturally. So it depicts a man kind of resting on his tool while the pentacles are growing out of the ground. And that came up for me in my personal reading right now, what's going on for me right now. So I kind of see that as a positive card. So yeah, so anyway, banking, so like again, I'm not trying to make any kind of predictions or give any advice, but banking could be in for a, kind of a uncertain future here in the next 1 to 3 years. Then I went to the defense sector, and when all was said and done, that came up with a score of 12. And that was for me, that was kind of like a mixed message because morally and ethically, I have an issue with considering defensive stocks, investing in war technology. So considering that the defense and the food, the number four, ended up winning the tournament, what that tells me is that I'm supposed to observe, I'm supposed to talk about it in this series. I will be considering it as I finish the Masters scorecard in the next few weeks. But so what I started to take a look at was, what's happening right here and now. And the centerpiece of that was the King of Cups. Again, there's that leader who, is starting to become more emotionally aware, more emotionally responsible. So what that tells me is that there may be people in that sector who are starting to have the conversations that matter, that are starting to really consider, who is on the receiving end of some of these defensive, these defensive strategies. So then I look into the future, and it looked positive. The Eight of Pentacles is considered a positive card. The Wheel of Fortune means it could go either way. But then here's what really interested me, in the distant future. The Magician card came up. And I identify very closely with the Magician because the Magician represents alchemy, using all four of the elements to manifest. So I really kind of did some deep soul searching about what that meant for me, because I had reservations about investing in defense. So what I came up with in considering this was, as this series, this divination and money management series plays out, what it's doing is it will show people how to short sell a stock when it's doing well, and how to buy it when it's low. And what it does is it really creates an opportunity for those of us, who don't have a lot of financial resources at our disposal. So, even though for me personally, I don't necessarily see myself investing in defense, um, it might come up very positive for you watching this. And you might have a lot of positive momentum investing in something like that, because as others are accumulating stock, and their equity, their stake goes up. It's not just about the financial it's not just about the financial return. The more stock you own in a company, the more your vote matters, the more you can make decisions in a company. So, if someone's watching this, and the light bulb goes off, and they say, "Oh, okay, well, if I invest $10,000 today, and in 10 years time I have $1 million in the company," that really increases my stake. That really increases my say in how, this company, that's in defense, or that kind of technology, makes its decisions. So it's kind of like changing the industry from the inside out. So anyway, that's how what I was inspired to reflect when I saw that spread on the industry. Then we go on to the next industry, which is food. And that was concerning to me. I mean, food and electric, are really concerning to me as well too, as I follow the macroeconomics of how farmland is being bought up here in the United States, and food insecurity continues to rise globally. So that was something that was very concerning for me, and I looked at. And right here at the moment, the Six of Cups came up, and that's a to me that's a positive sign that there's some mutuality being considered. The Devil card came up here as to what is terminating, and what is being changed. So that was a concern, because as Goodwin pointed out, and I highlighted this in the last conversation, was that it's associated with greed. I have a lot. I want more. I want yours. So, that to me, that's a cause for concern, for observation, especially within the food industry. Um, so I look in the future here. The Ace of Swords comes up in 1 year time. What that tells me is that there's going to be some struggle, but eventually, being able to have the insights, for creating food security is going to come to the forefront. It's not going to be easy, but there will be, there will be some headway being made. Ten of Wands, which is a negative card in this spread. It shows overburden. When I look at that card, I think of kind of like, there's a lot of food that's being thrown away, especially by supermarkets. So it's almost like there's this overburden of trying to manage the resources. And then it ends up with the Page of Wands, which is, again, considered a neutral card, meaning I don't see I don't see large communities, or I don't see this large, you know, I don't see starvation being a major factor, but we still have a lot of work to do in creating food security, for all people. It ended up with a 6, for the overall score, which is good. It's above average, so it's above 5. So, so it could go either way. If you're looking into investing in companies that focus on food, it could go either way. Um, then what happened is I went to telephone and cellular, and I'm not going to go too much into this. It ended up being a -2, so that's why I eventually decided really not to look further into the telephone industry as much. Um, I mean, it might be a great investment for someone else watching this, but because of that -2 in the score, I ended up just going with electric instead, since the number 8 and the industries that represented um, came up with looking at electric, companies dealing with electric, which for me is a very important sector to look at, because with the use of AI and the data centers coming up, there's a concern over electricity consumption. So I wanted to look into that. It ended up being a score of a 6 as well, meaning it could go either way, especially when we're looking at the consumption of resources. I was concerned with, again, the Page of Swords showing up at the very end in the long-term future, which means, again, could be secrets, skeletons in the closet that will start to manifest itself, especially in 5 years' time or more. The Page of Pentacles is a positive card, meaning there are people who are emerging who are really trying to kind of find the balance between how much resources are really necessary, to provide for our needs without grossly exploiting, the Earth's resources. Three of Wands is a neutral card. I'll call attention to this. This is what's happening in the next month, the 3 months. In the next month, the Death card came up. So, so from we're at early June of 2026 when I'm making this recording. So right now, especially with attention being put on data centers and the consumption of electricity, it's a hot button topic right now that is going to have repercussions. 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or more down the road. So anyway, that's just kind of like my tarot readings looking at the sectors, and that was what was informing me going into doing readings on individual stocks. So the first one I looked at was a National West Group, which met the criteria for a relative strength of over 80 and an EPS score of over 90. Eventually, it came out to a score of 12, which is very positive. That means when I get to my master scorecard at the end, it will have a 10 for the tarot score. So it was really interesting to me that at this very moment, the Magician card came up as the centerpiece. You got the World, the Magician, and the Emperor. So the World showed up because, as I had mentioned earlier, with that 4-card spread, the World came up for the industry itself, and now it's showing up again as to what is the internal influence of this company and potentially my relationship to this company. But the World is one of the most positive cards in the tarot spread. What Marcus Goodwin describes it as luck, the sum total, synthesis, party time. All the world's a stage, and as is this one. So I felt that was a very strong omen, to consider as we go forward with the rest of this criteria. So looking ahead in the future, things, I mean, a lot of the positivity from the past in this reading and the present started to dwindle off a little bit into the future. And I was very careful when I phrased my question doing these tarot readings. It's not just about how well the company is going to do. It's also about, will it help me reach my goals using the strategy that I am going to be implementing, which requires volatility. It doesn't mean it has to go up and up all the time. As long as there's a strong volatility, I will meet my goals. So short term, Eight of Swords, not the greatest. Empress within this period of time where I'm evaluating and probably will do pretty well. So here we go. We got the Knight of Swords again in 1 year's time. So that's where we really get the first negative score here. And what that for me is, it could be a little bit of a red flag saying, it's not going to be the greatest investment, in the next year or so, but it might provide the volatility that I'm looking for to short sell when I need to short sell. And also, when I looked at the dividends and the earnings as well, that could make up for it. So that's something that I'm considering just looking into the future. And then you got two neutral cards. The Seven of Pentacles, again, the guy resting as the crops are growing, and the Nine of Pentacles, which depicts a woman walking through a garden. And I associate that with a very positive, experience. I looked it up on other services, and the Nine of Pentacles was also a message that said all of your financial needs are going to be met. You're going to be comfortable. So even though it doesn't merit a 1 on Goodwin scorecard, I took that as a positive omen that it will help me meet my long-term goals. And that's, of course, if the rest of the scorecard, reflects that as well. Next, I looked at Park Aerospace Corp. And again, I want to emphasize that as we go through, this series over the summer, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing deeper dives into all of these companies, and I'll show you that later. But I just felt a need to emphasize that. So here we go. Right now, at the middle, the centerpiece, there's the devil. There's the devil again. So I mean, I don't want this to be a reflection of the company itself, of Park Aerospace Corp, or the defense industry in general. I do want to say with a disclaimer that this is just what, for entertainment purposes, this is what's coming up, coming up for me to look at, because there's also the sun coming up here in the near future as to what's changing, especially externally. But here in the future, we got three negative cards right in a row: Five of Swords, Ten of Swords, Eight of Cups, with the Four of Wands coming up for 3 years in the future. And then there's that Magician again. Just like in the defense sector, to me, what that does is it really just hammers home, the message that even though this might not work out for me as far as what I eventually invest in, it's planting a seed that says, look, I mean, if us little guys are paying attention, and we're slowly buying up interest in defense companies, we'll have more of a say as to how, how these companies interact with other cultures, or with other people that we're at war with. So I'm just going to plant that seed and go from there. So this tells a different story here. The stock itself just rated a 2, as opposed to the entire industry, which was a 12. So I'll let you make your own assumptions from that. Okay, so now we looked at Chef's Warehouse Inc. Again, I want to stress, I'm not making recommendations. I'm just observing what's coming up here. So what comes up as the centerpiece for Chef's Warehouse is Temperance. So that's a neutral card, patience. And then we got the King of Swords, the Four of Swords, And then in the future, we got the Seven of Wands, the Five of Wands. All of these are what Goodwin considers negative cards. So, yeah, so to me, this is a reflection also of the food industry. It ended up coming up with a -8 on this scorecard. Again, you know, someone else might look at this particular company and come up with a different, come up with a completely different energy reading. But what just this means to me is that, that there will be some concern in the food industry in general. And I'm hoping that just looking at this will spark deeper conversation within that industry. So it came up with a -8. So on my final scorecard, that means it will score a 1 in the tarot section. All right, and finally here, this was a surprise to me looking at the Edison International. It was a final score was an 18. So that means on the final scorecard, it'll be a 10, which was interesting because the industry itself is only at about a 6. And strength, I think that's really powerful looking at the current vibration of this moment is strength. Because again, there's that balance now of how much electricity is enough and how much is being exploited, for the powering of these data centers. In the near future, Three of Cups, I associate that with a positive card, which means there's going to be talks happening, especially in the next month around this. Then the Death card in the next 3 months. So something is on its way out. Something is dying to be able to make room for understanding how electricity is used in our modern world. That's the way I interpret it. So then we have the King of Wands, which is leadership that's willing to be creative, that's willing to consider new alternatives. The Moon is considered a positive card according to the Psychic Investor. So what that says to me is that more intuitive people who are more in touch with the intuitive might come to the aid of this particular company within this particular industry. And the Eight of Wands represents speed, a lot of speed. So there's going to be what I interpreted having the Eight of Wands as the eventual outcome in this means a lot of movement in the context of whether or not this is the stock I invest in. Having those three positive cards coming up in the 1 year, the 3 year, and the distant future, it tells me that after this year, there's going to be some movement, in the up direction, is how I interpret it. So again, final score for the tarot is 18, and yeah, yeah, and that would be a score of a 10 on the final scorecard. And well, why don't we go ahead and look at that here? I'll pull that up on my screen, but also uh, for this presentation later. As you can see, I'm already starting to work ahead, but so at the moment, National West Group is at a 10 for the tarot score. Park Aerospace Corp is at a 2. Chef's Warehouse is a 1, and Edison International is a 10. So I am going to break there for this particular presentation. And the next installment, we're still going to be working with the tarot and that 15 card spread, but we're going to start looking at strategies, how the market is expected to do overall in the future. And I'm also going to be looking at different strategies, how much to put in stocks, how much to put in a credit union. And I'm going to be really, preaching the gospel of credit unions here in the next presentation as well. So that's it. That's what I wanted to cover today. So, hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me at livinglibrarytimebank@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you for listening. And again, please connect with me to learn how to receive time bank credit just for watching this. Again, everything that I do, everything that I put out there, I want it to be considered a gift. It's not advice, it's not recommendations. It's just kind of chronicling my journey and offering it up to you as a gift. As I hope that you will reciprocate and tell me your story. Tell me your process, as we exchange like gifts. So thank you for listening. This is Michael Shoeman, Chief Steward of the Living Library Time Bank, and I'll be back with this series, Divination and Money Management. Thanks for listening.